something from flat panel display. Maybe so far I can remember that the light emitting display what there and light modulating display what there, that could be a concern. Emitting display where the light is created, modulating display not actually concerned about the light creation rather than the wave nature of the light has been used here, the modulation through the modulation that the image is created. So that's like LCD and LED of them. We discussed about plasma display, a special fourth state of matter that is actually used in here in a low pressure few gas. They can be actually charged and they become the plasma, and when they return back to the electrons, means they go back to their own actually that state that is in the gas. By that time actually they release some light. That light actually glow, and using that principle the image can be created. Liquid crystal in the nematic form with multiple layer that we have, like polarizing sheet, the conducting the glass substrate in between the through the when the electricity applied actually that is that polarizer actually align the liquid crystal according to their actually shape, the horizontal part and the vertical part. When the light enter through that polarizer sheet, they get that the waves are actually aligned according to that shape as well, and as the liquid crystal are actually aligned according to the polarizer, so the light also actually twist and they pass through. If they are not is there in the nematic form, then the light actually is stuck, they cannot go. So that on and off state, that the light either can pass or maybe not, that actually make the light go through. Okay, and but this limitation for LCD is actually they use a solid state light device, that is actually the CCFL, cold cathode fluorescent light, and that the problem is actually it is not creating the pure black color, because there is a backlight, the entire panel is actually light. And for LED they try to get improve in that backlight issue, so that they use that light emitting diodes which are energy efficient and also less smaller, so that actually a panel of light emitting diode has been used here. And for that reason the light actually pass through and go through the same mechanism with the LCD they has. So as they are using that LED light, that's why it's called the LED display. Then the organic light emitting display, we said it is a light emitting diode display we are calling, but actually this is mostly light emitting diode display for organic manner, and also they create the light here with the principle of LED. So that's why that's called the OLED, as it has a different layer with glass substrate with in between the anode and cathode, and in between the anode and cathode there is actually that organic layers. This organic layer means actually the made with the polymer, and one is for emissive layer. We can understand that the light will be created here, emit here, and that conductive layer is actually which will carry the light, actually pass through to the finally through the anode to the display. So OLED is good for, as according to that construction and the working process, they are actually creating light as is usually the LED can create, so that individual pixel basis actually we can control, and either the light, if it is there is no light, then there will be created no light, so that create the pure black color. So wherever it is black, it is truly the black color. Okay, so that is the OLED. We discussed about CRT and LCD, a very simple comparison and understandable that why LCD actually replaced the market of CRT, because the size, the display size as well, color resolution, all in the cases now LCD is actually more or less better than the CRT. Mostly the CRT a very a big problem. It was about the consumption of the power. It was actually taking too much actually the voltage, and the radiation also actually an issue because it get warm, and the temperature it get high. So that's actually a concern. The brightness viewing angle, it has some few concern, but it is not a big deal at this moment. At the price, LCD is actually even the LED, both of them are actually grab the market, and CRT is still very cheap, but LED and LCD is also becoming very cheap these days. These are actually the design that we have discussed, right? So can anyone tell that exactly what is representing this diagram, Pratasha? This
Yes, sir.
diagram are actually representing exactly what?
Sir, exactly the image pro generation, how the image generation in the what is the working process of video controller and how we can see the image. It is actually show the image generation process.
Image generation process. Uh, if we consider image generation process better, we have done earlier that technique, right? In the raster, how it is generating the vector, how it is generating, especially for the CRT when we have electron gun. But really, is it talking about that?
Sir, how
So,
the
sir, I think
graphic system is work? It is showing in this diagram.
Okay. Yeah. So Uday, you were saying something.
Sir, I think these graphs are showing the hardware related architecture
Right.
that is basically defines the simple raster graphic systems. So how
Yes.
these
That's
graphics are basically the CPU, the system, memory, what the working procedures that making the raster graphics.
right. Exactly, Pratasha. That is actually the thing, as Uday said. You can see here internal structure of your system means actually your hardware system mostly for the graphics that try to actually represent here. If we say like the computer system, if we go for actually for designing, then we at the very basic we understand there should be a CPU, there should be memory, and they would have input output devices, right? That is actually the main thing that we know. Now look at in here why video controller has been added and with the monitor, because this is one of the output device which is a graphics device actually for image or graphics. Now a video controller is actually what that could be commonly your graphics card, we understand, right? So that this is actually a processor. So that processor is dedicated only to work with the image to show that on the monitor. So that is working with the main processor with the memory. You must have the memory, and you're trying to actually get the information and actually generate it. Now so that this is actually the internal architecture, but in the logical, right? Definitely the CPU doesn't look like that, the memory doesn't look like that, or system bus doesn't look like that. So what actually we are doing through some diagram or shape, we are trying to represent logical way of the system architecture, right? That what you have. Now this is a logical architecture or logical design, because the design we have done, this is from our imagination. And when we go for physical actually architecture, then it looks like maybe the physical means something some which is might have some physical evidence or maybe in real life evidence. Like you have done database management system, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. You have then went through many times with the logical that term, like ERD. You have done the ERD diagram.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You see that that is actually a logical diagram, entity relationship diagram. So now what actually the entity for your system or software, what actually the main object will impact the system, that is actually the entity. Entity does not mean that it will be table. Okay, so entity to entity relationship also could be a table, and commonly the entity are we identify as a table, the most important one. Now here when we do the design, definitely the entity with their attributes in the circle. They are actually, we don't have things like that way. Rather than those are only the information in the logical way we are just representing. When we go for this physical, actually maybe we are designing the database on the base of that. That is actually the physical representation of the information. So like this is actually the logical information as like the architecture. Whenever about the hardware system, we can understand this is about the architecture. Okay, and in between explaining that through whatever we are explaining, that is maybe the image generation technique that Pratasha was saying. So the first one, we had the general and common one, that CPU we need the memory, we need the graphics card, and all are interconnected, and with the output device they are showing with that, but through the video controller. The next one, we said like okay, we say the memory, but definitely graphics card takes some information from the spatial part of the memory. That is, we are calling the frame buffer, so that we are segmenting that, right? And then actually it's going to the monitor. Now video controller, the graphics card take the information directly from the frame buffer. That's why it can be connected like this way. Also it can connect with through the system bus in here. Next one, we said like, okay, we want to go for actually advanced graphics activity, but whatever the CPU, the processor we have or the graphics card is not sufficient, let us have another processor, an extra graphics card that actually you have installed. Now whenever you install that one, that you need actually an extra memory for it, so that display processor memory is specially dedicated for that processor and the image processing technique. And you can see that there is no other connectivity with this. The entire panel is connected with this processor. And then that some part of that memory is actually the frame buffer. Now logically this can be this system memory as well. When we say system memory, the entire memory is system memory. So this from here, that some part that we have dedicated for that purpose actually, and there definitely have the frame buffer as well. Now video controller take the information and show that on the monitor, right? So why I'm actually trying to explain this way, because you see that there is nothing explained in here in the slide, right? But if you have in the exam, you will definitely have some kind of explanation there, that what actually are this. So you have to write something, okay? And then the video controller. Now coming to the main point, that how actually the refresh operation works. We have seen that in the screen that it is doing the refresh activity x and y according to the x and y on that screen, that actually we identify the pixel address, so that the pixel address has been taken from the memory for individual pixel, and the pixel has some intensity value has been actually defined, so that you know that intensity value, and that intensity value, according to that actually the scanner, the voltage will be actually applied, like how strong, how actually weak, or for that actually pixel. So for pixel number 1, that actually whatever value it has, it is actually getting from the memory, and then actually that intensity voltage has been generated. Then the next one, the next pixel will be generated automatically when the X register and Y register changes value. So this is actually coordinate values for the every pixel that you are going to identify. So the second one, the X register, that will be actually incremented. The Y register was Y max, as you know, in the top point on the leftmost corner, while in the screen on the bottom on the corner is actually 0 0. Then this is actually 0 and Y max. So next point on the same line will be 1, X will be incremented 1, and Y max will be same, so that up to the line the X value will be incremented up to the X max, and then the Y max will be same. Next line when it comes, then actually the value of Y max will be decreased, and X register will reset its value from x max to 0. Like this way it will go for the same line, and this is the process for the last line as well, while the y will become actually 0. Okay, so this refresh operation will be done, this activity 60 times by the video controller to show the image steadily. Okay, so this is up to maybe we have discussed, right? So we are going to discuss about this random stem system, and this is very simple. And I am coming back. Let us go for the attendance first to finish. All right, do you have Alif Laila Jannat? Alif Laila Jannat? No, maybe Ashikur Rahman Ashik. Ashikur Rahman Ashik. Muhammad Alamin.
Yes, sir.
Alamin is there.
Yes.
Okay. Nishatara. Nishatara. Shahidul Islam Antur. Shahidul Islam Antur. Sumaya Akhtar.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sumaya. Arif Akhtar Ritu.
Present, sir.
Okay, Ritu. Jinatun Nessa.
Yes, sir.
Jinat. Parvez Alam.
Present, sir.
Okay, Parvez. Redwan Ratul.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ratul. Salvi Saba.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Salvi. Jakaria Hassan Papu.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Papu. Papu, how are you now?
Now I'm little bit sick, sir. I'm taking medicine. Inshallah, I will get well soon.
Okay, that's fine. Maria Mejabin.
Present, sir.
Okay, Maria. Isra Jarin.
Present, please, sir.
Okay, Mauli. Abdul Khalek. Abdul Khalek. Rabina Afrin Ami.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ami. Tajnoba Yasin Esha. Tajnoba Yasin Esha. Sharia Toyon. Muhammad Sharia Toyon. Hussein Ahmed Antur.
Present, sir.
Okay, Antur. Pratyasha Roy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Pratyasha. Sharnika Dash.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sharnika. Khadija Ria.
Sir, Khalid Rahman Ria is disconnected. He's trying to reconnect again.
She was in the class earlier.
Yes, sir. She
Okay.
phoned me, sir.
Rahat Islam Rupu.
Present, please, sir.
Okay, Rupu. Mahmoud Akhtar. Mahmoud Akhtar. Didar Al Mahmoud. Didar Al Mahmoud. Tamanna Tabassum. Tamanna Tabassum.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Said Mahmoud Sifat.
Present, sir.
Are you there, Sifat?
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. Fairuz Tanjim Achal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Achal. Sadiatul Nisa Shetuli.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Shetuli. Mustafa Iram Uday.
Present, sir.
Okay, Uday. Sadia Hussain Mauri. Sadia Hussain Mauri. Sadia Akhtar.
Yes, sir.
Sadia. Mantakimur Rahman.
Yes, sir.
Mantakimur Atik Faisal Imam.
Yes, sir.
Imam Rahul Devnath. Rahul
Sir.
Devnath. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Nishat Taslim Jyoti. Nishat Taslim Jyoti. Sadat Mahmud Khan. Sadat Mahmud Khan. Yeah, you're there, Sadat?
Yes, sir. The video is not working. I'm already
Yeah, it is.
turned on.
I can see you now.
Oh,
Firdaus Hassan
okay, sir.
Rifat. Firdaus Hassan Rifat. Khaja Minhaj Munib.
Yes, sir.
Minhaj.
বৃষ্টি হয় না
Nahida Islam.
Yes, sir.
হওয়া তো উচিত
Okay, Nahida, got it.
Yes, sir.
Hasibul Hassan Shanto. Hasibul Hassan Shanto. Sharmin Sultana.
Yes, sir.
Are you there, Sharmin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. Ryan Hussain. Ryan Hussain. Muhammad Alamin.
Yes, sir.
What about your video, Alamin?
Sir, I'm little bit sick, sir. I'm laying in bed.
What happened? What kind of sickness?
Sir,
Are you taking medicine for it?
Sir, I didn't understand.
I said, what type of sickness you have? Cold, fever, something, or something else?
Fever, cold, and testless.
Okay. Are you taking medicine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So be fit for Thursday. Okay. So I'm actually more concerned about it. So do not miss the exam, because participation in the exam at the first point is very important. It is necessary, as you are giving it from the home. So even you don't feel good that much, you try to attend the exam. Okay.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Because the another reason why actually I'm telling it, I have 3 sections, so I have at least 2 to 3 sets in one of the sections. So 8-9 set. If you have a question and if anyone miss and then come back for any re-exam, you can understand that what question can be for him. Okay, so automatically the exam would be automatically bad. All right, so that's why you should all of you should go in a flow when you give actually your regular exam. Definitely it is more comfortable. Okay, finally Ashikujaman.
yes sir
Ashik is there. Okay, so we have a big number of students are absent. 14. Okay, anyone else who missed the attendance? No, maybe. Okay. All right. Let's come back to that point of vector display system. That how actually it will be. It is as same like we have seen for the raster as well. Nothing new. Only they said like display processor rather than the video controller. As you would see, like the same structure for the general structure for the vector display, that is also same. You have the CPU, you have the system memory, and you have a processor who can work actually with the bus and the monitor as well. Now there is a question. The vector display, the vector image is actually different with the raster image, because in the memory you have an access that for raster there is no problem, because it actually take pixel by pixel only some value. If it is a color actually display, so that color display you already know that for that red, green and blue what is actually the value are stored for that individual pixel, and according to that the gun has the intensity. So nothing that much complex here, more simple. But if it is go for actually vector, we know the vector image is actually created with many number of actually vector, the lines or drawing those commands. Now those commands definitely the processor cannot process unless it is in a binary format. So those, there are some actually special package or special actually software which need to be run by this time, or special way of that actually, that's why it's called the package. It will take those commands in the memory and then actually they try to convert it or translate it maybe in the lower level and put that in the file, so that whenever you have, because you also have a refresh operation you need to go through, so multiple time it has to be, so every time you will not definitely actually convert it. So a converted copy of the display file is stored in the memory, so the display processor take that file, and according to that, in random points maybe they try to draw, okay, give the signal according to that. So that is actually the vector scan systems, or the architecture of the system, that how it actually works as well. Now, I hope that all of you have, whenever if it is coming like a comparison, that you can understand that the basic difference start from actually the information for those that for the vector display, what kind of information are stored in the frame buffer, because that thing is need to be actually converted and try to paint on the screen, as comparing with what is called for raster graphics, that is especially the intensity value in the x and y coordinate for that pixel that it has, or according to the address what actually they have. Okay, so that's about the vector scan system architecture. Okay, so I think we have done input device. There are many type of input device. These are all for the graphics that we know. There are many of those device with their application, like you can see hand gloves, many sensor actually work, or the stylus pen, or maybe touch screen, and for the video games and all sort of things there are also many other devices, so you can go through for checking. The software of the graphics that can be classified into category. One is actually for the programmers actually, and another one is actually an application. That application, how do you gonna actually run to generate the image? That is actually that special purpose application package, like CAD system or painting system or visual effects system, all of them. So that you come to know in 1 month you become a actually graphics designer, that they call. But actually as an engineer perspective, how actually through the program that you can be a graphics designer, you can use maybe different language. These days most of the language actually support with many type of graphics library has been given by default, and by using those actually we can draw many shape and can create a complex image, and also actually apply the transformation, that means the movement. Okay, like OpenGL is an example that we are very soon going to introduce. Maybe after the exam we are going to introduce, and we start to have our assignment work. So that is actually supporting to higher level language to generate the image. So that is called the general programming package. One is called the special purpose application package. Okay, that's all about the first chapter. We move on to our next chapter. Don't get worried. I already said today maybe whatever we are discussing, it may come in the exam, and if not, you have many other things in the behind, right? But we are continuing with this slide as well. If anything comes, you don't need any preparation from this slide to go through. The chapter says about image, pixel and geometry. Okay, before starting that one, with the first and second chapter, do you have any query regarding the exam? Anything you need to know?
I forgot my serial number, sir.
Forgot the serial number. Okay, please get the serial number. Again, I have said it is already gone. That you need to select your set of the question according to the serial number. Okay, so that's why the serial number is actually necessary. I will try to do one thing, that maybe one of your serial number that I'll try to put down on the classroom, or maybe during the exam at the beginning, that I'll have the serial number so that you can get it, but you may have to waste some time for it. In the beforehand, if you could have known, then actually directly you can select your question paper. Now you have to wait for a while entering into the Zoom, and I'll actually try to show you then the list of that students. You can get the serial number from there. Okay,
So,
just be in touch.
did you upload the student list in Google Classroom?
No, I did not. I'm not sure that I'm going to do it or not, but I said like those of you are not sure about your serial number, you have to wait for a while, maybe during the exam day. I could have given you, even whenever I was taking the attendance, you should have taken that actually. It is gone now, I have to log in again for it. Alright, let's continue here. Do you have any question about first and second chapter? Anything else? That means you have not actually started to take the preparation yet. Your other exam is done, or tomorrow most of the exams?
Like today, most of the exams are today.
I have done on
Okay.
4th July.
Oh, you have done on 4th July,
Yes,
the
sir.
Independence Day in USA. 4th of July you was not allowed to take the exam, honestly to say. I don't know, the teacher gave you earlier date, but university actually given instruction to take the exam after 6th. That means even they said after 6, that means from the 6 also, not sure, but people are taking from 6. We may say
University takes us from 6, the exam will start.
yes, they said like that, but it is in too late. Many teachers actually already made the schedule for the exam, so that's why maybe they have taken the exam. Okay, if you don't have any question, then one thing I can tell you, whatever I can remember from the chapter 1, that you need to focus is those two classification of the graphics, vector and raster, how they are different, how they can be generated. Okay, and then the classification of graphics with another pattern, with the image generation technique, and usability of the computer graphics that people will use, interactive and non-interactive, and the application of the computer graphics. So that from there also you might have some question, as you can see. So you need to be careful that whenever in the application, every application have some speciality. Means the computer graphics, whenever it is for visualization, whenever it is for image processing, so all of them you better understand that how they are different with one to another. Okay, sometimes they are overlapping. One is actually supporting two application, two-way category that you actually were doing. Okay, so that is from the first chapter. In second chapter, at the beginning with CRT activities, that understanding the CRT, but there were many important actually fundamental concept of the graphics, like we had refresh rate, like we have actually the size, we had resolution, we had you can remember that what is called the color depth of the device, right? Or how color value, they are actually different, and so on like this. You should go through those actually very what is called attentively. Okay, so try to, whenever you will try to read the definition or try to go through those topics, try to put those very well into your head, that what actually are they. Do not remember, because my question will not ask you to define resolution. Okay, so that it will be asked in a different way. All right, then we go for computer graphics. It says about image pixel and geometry. This chapter will try to discuss about some feature of the image, and then some of the pixel that is actually fundamental element, the prime element for an image, as we know. And the pixel can be identified. The pixel have some address from an image or from some resolution, we can identify. That is also we'll try to see. And the geometry, we are moving to some primitive geometrical shapes like line, circle, and those generating technique are use some algorithm, and that algorithm will be started there. Okay, so image, as we can say, it is image. What do you need to see the image? Two very important things are necessary to see any image. What are they?
The image size,
Sir,
the resolution.
And light and
Light. One of the properties is light. That's right. Very good. Another one.
Color.
Color is what?
Sir, a device.
Definitely you need device, but you need device for digital image to see. But my question is generalized. Intensity.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what else? That means I'm saying that if you don't have that, then you cannot see. You cannot see any image.
Screen.
Like the screen or the output device
Okay.
monitor.
Think about without any device or without anything, anyone can see image. Image, the meaning is what? You are at the first point defined it is a digital image. That's why you are talking about device, you are talking about the screen and so on. But I did not say digital image. Right? You think about light. Now think about you are actually watching in the mobile phone, your entire room is dark. So you can see the image because your phone is actually generating light. Right?
Yes,
So
sir.
that's why actually you can do. So when you switch off the mobile phone, you cannot see because there is no light. But you have the screen, you have the device and everything.
So if we don't have a medium for creating an image,
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Look, two things must we need for actually the visual aspect. One is actually the light. Another one is actually your eye. Okay. So you can see it make now interdepartmental, the biological aspect. Without eye, who cannot see, does it make any sense graphics to him? It is not. So why eye? Because the eye, the structure of eye has been studied over the time, and then the camera invented on based of that. The working process, they thought like how we can see, so that the scientists actually try to identify and apply the same technology or method in the camera to grab the picture or to see the picture through that. Okay, so those two for the image will be discussed in here, especially the light and then actually the camera as well. So for light, we say without light we cannot see. You have seen that there is no way that you can see. You have everything. Whatever you have said so far, you have everything, but without light you cannot see because it will reflect into your eye and then only you can see. And we all know it is an electromagnetic radiation, right? Radiation, it says about in a negative form. We always know the radiation is actually not good. Now, how light become the radiation? You can understand that light is not always very good. You have a headache, you will try to actually, especially the migraine people who actually have some pain, severe pain, that time they try to avoid the light, right? The reason is actually light is nothing but also electromagnetic wave, which is actually trying to enter or trying to actually put on your body or every organ. So the sensitivity, the sensors and all these things are actually might have some problem. You see that a very strong light source, if you look at you in a few moments actually your brain, almost the visual, that system, that department in the visual part in your brain, they actually have some problem with the sensor that almost like a flash, that flash actually almost make you blind for a while, you cannot see anything. So that's the strong wavelength of the light when it actually hard in your means in your brain through the eye. And these waves, as it is electromagnetic wave, as we know, and the nature of the wave, they have the frequency and the wavelength. If we check that what is actually frequency and the wavelength, and we know that if it is actually have a wave, so that the wavelength is actually the peak point. If we go the two peak point, what is the actually distance, that is actually the wavelength from here to here, and that also can be identified like they are same one, like from here to here. And the frequency is on a certain actually length of that wave. So like here to here in 1 meter. In 1 meter, how many of that wave has been created? So you can see that 1, 2, 3. 3 of that has been created. So that is actually that they call the frequency. the relationship between frequency and the wavelength. Okay, what actually the relationship they have? Can anyone tell? If the frequency is high, okay, if the frequency is high, say like this way, then what happen? The wavelength become low. The length of that wave become low because that space actually become small. So if that are actually big, the wavelength is big, then the frequency become low. That means actually you can see here, this one is actually high frequency, low wavelength. Okay, this one is actually high wavelength, low frequency. So they have reverse relationship. Okay, so for that one, it has a reverse relationship, and on the base of that, actually they find out the speed of light. Now the entire, this diagram will actually give you better idea. The entire whatever many applications that we actually experience are actually nothing but the electromagnetic wave, and that wave, according to their actually length or the frequency, they are defined, they are harmful, they are not. All of them are actually defined for it. Now this is interesting. Look at the actually such a interesting part of the nature, that the electromagnetic wave we cannot see. Only we can see a small part of the range. Okay, that range is nothing but 350 to 780 nanometer wavelength. Only that range is visible to human eye, and this is nothing but the light. And that light is actually consists of many color. So color is nothing, color is actually part of the light. So the light in their different wavelength become different color. Okay, and this is only the visible part of the electromagnetic wave, and this is such a boundary. If we go in left hand side where wavelength is high but the frequency is low, are not harmful for the human body. But if you go in the right hand side where the wavelength is low but the frequency is high, then actually it become actually not only harmful, it become dangerous for the human body. So such a wonderful that boundary has been created through the light. Okay, so if we have actually the high wavelength, you can see the high wavelength, it is higher 10 to the power 3 to, it's going in the negative of that, and the frequency, the lower, it is going to actually the higher. So that's why they are reverse related. So I think that time is up. So you, with the light, with that frequency, in the next class as well, we'll try to continue to the discussion from here. So that is actually, you can see the common one which we use, like radio, we use the telephone. You see the wave has been used in the telephone. If it would not be harmful, safe, otherwise we could have actually had a huge problem by this time. The TV broadcasting, ultrasonography, as you see, this is actually safe. Also actually the data, wireless data that actually we're using. So all of them are actually the electromagnetic wave, but for their almost safe actually frequency that you can do. But if you go for actually some of them X-ray, if you go for actually the radio, that therapy that given in the treatment, also there are some of the PET imaging, that positron emission, that tomography for medical science, or crystallography, scientific use, those are using actually that harmful that radiation, like in the X-ray. X-ray is also harmful, as you know. And then if you know that one X-ray you do, that radiation, that wave stay on your body at least 6 months. And those people which are, that 6 months means that every cell has actually the impact on that X-ray. So people, whenever they do X-ray, the X-ray people, they don't live on that, they stay on that room. They try to go to in the outside actually. So for that the radiation, to avoid the radiation. Okay. All right, thank you very much, and wish you good luck for the exam. I
স্যার
hope that yes.
স্যার সিরিয়াল লিস্টে